Being 5:15, I'd like to call the September 30th Board of Public Works meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any changes to the agenda?
There's not.
For a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Herder, seconded by Mr. Barrington to approve the agenda. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public input. Public input, seeing none. We'll move on to approval of the September 3rd meeting minutes.
So moved to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Barrington, seconded by Mr. Herder to approve the September 3rd, 2024 meeting minutes. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes carried. Wastewater treatment plan updates. Robert?
All right, in the packet was Ben's notes, just to highlight them. We discussed the mower, and that is item 5 tonight, so we'll skip that. On September 12th, we had our main meeting with everybody involved with the digester coating down at the plant. What was expected to be a 20-minute meeting ran 2 hours long.
Oh my.
We thought we'd get into some simple scenarios on what all took place and why Corcoran pulled all this stuff out, and he seemed to be on the terms that, hey, I'm doing all the work here and nobody else is doing their part to help out in the coating thing. And it's really not on us to determine that coding and or Donahue, but he said we were giving, or Donahue was giving too many different directions, and that really wasn't the case. It's just when they ran into a crack, then they would stop and say, well, the structure's not sound, and it's been stated many times that that structure is sound and it can be coated. It's just you're going to run into issues like that. And then there was conflict with, should we take it all off, the 6,000 and the 2,300 and take it down to bare concrete. And then Sherwin-Williams was saying, well, some of that can be recoated over. So then there was dispute there. So what happened is, after the meeting took place, and with all the conversation we had, Donahue put another directive together, and we're gonna follow this, this, and this. Sent it to Corcoran. More than a week went by, we didn't hear anything, so we thought, well, this is going bad, but I guess he had some medical issues. Just got word late last week that he stated, I'm back to work. I'm meeting with Sherwin-Williams. We're gonna come up with or go over your plan and hopefully start this up again. So we'll see. We're still not accepting any of the GLK wastes. They're still getting readings of the phosphorus that's non-reactive to the ferric chloride. So they plan on taking another test mid-October to see if temperature has something to do with that, and that we can start accepting it again. But if not, then we'll no longer be taking their waste. Great Lakes TV and Seal was in pretty much cleaning, and they started televising the north side of the river here. Did this whole area to the west of City Hall. They're waiting on Shawano because of all the bypass traffic that's running through. So they'll come back in and run that line as soon as the 45 bypass opens up. Other than that, it's pretty quiet. It's a lot of maintenance and reactive maintenance at the plant. So does anybody have any questions on any of that?
What steps are you doing for that digester? What's Don suggesting to do?
So with the portion that is taken off and removed completely from the bottom to, I think it's around 12 foot, that's pretty much acceptable to coat. They found that they had a really hard time taking off the 2300 after they got the 6000 off. So they'll do a test on what's adhered as far as the 2300 goes. And if it's found acceptable through their tests, then that can remain on that and be coated over. But both Sherwin-Williams has to sign off on it, and so does the independent consultant. All the 6000 has to come off because even in the time we were waiting for all this decision making to take place, the exposure to the elements, that sheets of 6000 that they were having trouble sandblasting off is peeling off in sections in the area that they did.
Then why don't they just take it all down to bare concrete and do it all over? I mean, if you take a car and to get it restored, they're gonna strip it to nothing. To me, that's the only right way to do it.
And that's how we were trending in the beginning, but because it was taking a week to go around that tank and take off a 4 to 5 foot strip once you got to that 2300. And that's using, I mean, I'm not a blaster expert by any means, but they said they were using the hardest particulate that you could send through the gun to try to get that off. And they were running a lot of hours just to get that off. And if it's adhered and they're all fine with it and it passes the tests that compression tests that they do, and if the manufacturer of the coating is signing off on it, then I trust their judgment. I'm not a coating expert by any means.
Okay, just wondering.
Any further questions for Robert? Seeing none. Thanks, Robert. We'll move on to the next discussion about the purchase of a new mower for the wastewater treatment plant. Robert?
So the zero turn mower that they have now, the pumps are really weak. They're having a lot of issues with it. They went out and got 3 quotes for a replacement mower, which we went over last month. The John Deere quote for $6,815.04 was the lowest bid. So they're looking to get that approved at this month's Board of Public Works. Does anybody have any questions on that?
You gonna treat the new one better than they do the old one? Yeah. The grass sticks underneath, they come over to the driveway and they bang it up and down. And you can hear that big shot line, it bangs hard. And that's not good.
That's duly noticed.
Any other questions for Robert?
I expect all new equipment to be treated like new equipment.
Seeing no other questions, looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that they get the one from John Deere.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ritchie, second by Mr. Dorsey to approval the purchase of a new mower, the John Deere mower, low bid for the wastewater treatment facility. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Robert. Looks like we're coming back to you to review the DPW capital equipment and projects.
Okay, so I put this list together. Again, this is just a preliminary list. We always, put well, I wouldn't call it a wish list because if it was a wish list, it would be a lot longer. But items that are coming up that we really have to look at as far as replacement. And what we do is we go over this list in-house internally and then bring what we decided as a group back at a later date in October during the capital meeting for approval. But I wanted to bring this up now, so if there's questions down the road or tonight that they can be answered. So the number one thing on the list would be the $150,000 put away for the purchase of a new plow truck in 2026. That would be replacing 2014 single axle that we have right now. We figured if I could put this away for 25 and have that same amount, our last truck was roughly 290. Prices have been holding fairly decent from what I heard in the market. But at least we'd have this portion put away towards 2026. It would still put us on a tight schedule to get that replaced on that 12-year schedule, because I hear they're still about a year out. So we'd be ordering, January of 26, hopefully for a late fall, if not early 27 delivery. The next thing on the list is the large bucket truck with chipper box, and that estimate is a rough estimate. I really didn't have any time to run out and look. Luke's doing some looking into costs for bucket trucks, but the 2005 we have right now, any aerial lift has to go in for an annual review, and it just seems like the more we're using it, especially with the amount of ash trees we have going down, that the list of things that need to be fixed on it are increasing. Plus, it is a larger truck, but it's not considered what they have. It's a heavy duty one. It doesn't reach as high as like what New London Utility has right now. So some of the higher trees, we have to get help from them to take down anyways. There might be an option where we can get this done through bonding. I mean, that's a whole separate discussion, and I just put it on the list as a placemaker because it's something we really have to look at, especially with the way we have these ash trees dying right now.
Did you ever look at the demo trucks?
Demo lift trucks?
Yeah. Or the demo lift or the plow trucks? We got one demo plow truck 2 years back.
The only problem with demo plow trucks, they're set up a certain way, and a lot of times you're missing out on a lot of other items that you can get with them to do the job you need to do.
Okay.
Not saying it wouldn't, all of them are gonna have a plow, all of them are gonna have a wing, but some of them, like that one truck has a small wing on it. It's almost to the point where you have to make 2 laps just to get the snow back to the curb. It's not something I wouldn't, not look at altogether. But a lot of times when you run and you're looking at demo trucks, does it really have everything we need? If they do, I have nothing against it.
I seen the crew was up by me. It's a Friday with a bucket truck, and they were quite high with it. I mean, they almost were totally extended straight up and down. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it said when in doubt, we're just gonna have to, for now, ask for help.
Yep.
And he's gonna top it for us. And it's a lot sturdier, I guarantee. Number 3 was the enterprise fleet. That would be a continual number, for leasing that vehicle. That's all I have for equipment for this year. That's on the list. There were other discussions, although we're starting to do a little more digging with the backhoe and doing more work with that. That's a 2007, but that's still in fairly decent shape, and we just had one of the cylinders resealed, so for now that'll work, and we do get help from NLU now that they have a compactor for theirs. Comes in handy when we're doing any deeper digging. They usually come and give us a hand, and takes them 10 minutes to compact with that plate compactor they have for theirs now. On the projects, I'm looking at the street and sidewalk patch program, the same as it has been since I started, 25,000 for each. The other big one is the police department retaining wall. So on the south side of the PD, that wall's been falling apart pretty much since I started, and it's getting worse every year. There's a section now that's pretty much given away where the old one used to wrap in, and the newer section of poured wall runs into it, to where something has to be done there sooner versus later. If we just run some cold patch in there for now to try to keep the water out, to keep it from pushing out further. But it's definitely something that we'll have to look at addressing, and more than likely going with a poured wall versus the retaining wall block, just from how close you have to be to that. Oh, there it even has a rail. How close of a distance that is from the building. I'd like to see if we could get it, even the opportunity to purchase a strip of land there, so we could pour in that wall, have room behind it to pour in the support wall, and then give them an extra foot or two for backing in there, because it's pretty tight. And then you could keep your wall a little bit higher and use it as a flow line to bring that water down around that corner. And that, with everything, with removing the old one, putting in that type of wall, the dig back, to put in that type of wall, the replacement of the stone, the replacement of the asphalt patching that'd have to go behind it. I kind of have it figured around that $35,000 mark.
But that wouldn't be with purchasing any 6 or 8 feet, right?
That was figuring in kind of what we were getting for land purchase down here at a little less of a value, being that it's not retail. But it was a rough estimate as far as that 6-foot strip and having that contract work done.
You've been in contact with that individual? Does it seem like something that could work?
But I know it recently just sold, so yeah, it would be something worthwhile to look into. Anybody have any? Oh, I got roof assessments. It was a placemaker. The roof assessment portion was a placemaker on the capital list that I've had since I started. And looking into it, it's definitely a good idea, especially with these types of roofs to have them assessed, see if there's anything that needs addressing and get it taken care of before they become leaks and more damage to the property. There was also the museum and library, but that just got a new roof, so that one should be in decent shape.
It also identifies if there's anything that's under warranty yet for roofs. It catches that, and then we can catch it under warranty.
Any further questions for Mr. Garski? So we don't need a motion for that at all? No, okay. All right, thanks. Next, approval and recommend to council speed limit change for House Road.
So during the reconstruction meeting, this has always been a topic. The speed limit, some say has or was 45 and the signs went missing. There's no real documentation of it ever being legally 45 miles an hour. Being an unsigned town road, its speed limit is 55, so that's what we kind of had to start documenting way back when we applied for the grant to have House and Alcan redone. So during that process, it was brought up that with it being smooth, new asphalt, and 55 mile an hour speed limit, that being narrow, it would create more safety issues, and there was concerns brought up at that public informational meeting. So I asked the police department to help me out doing a speed and traffic count out there. It came back that the speed, so in determining a speed change, you have to go off of the 85 percentile. So it's not 85% of the cars travel at this, it's all the speeds added up till you reach that 85% mark, and that's the number they go off of. We did that with this, and it came out as 46 miles an hour. With the average traffic, the 10 mile an hour window, if you average the most, ran from 38 miles an hour to 49 miles an hour. So McMahon did put all this together and into a document that can be approved, and we can legally change that stretch of road to 45 miles an hour. Not only does it have to pass here, I'll have to take it to the town of Liberty because it is a shared road. But everything I've heard on their end is that they're in favor of reducing that speed as well. Does anybody have any questions on that?
One other issue too, if they ever do put that other subdivision that Soderski's talking about, that's on House Road also, so that's gonna make a little more sense to have the speed limit reduced.
Correct.
Is there any limit? Does the speed limit apply to how many houses or how much is on the road? Does that affect what speed limit you can have?
In certain areas. Yeah, once you get more into the into town or into business districts, then there's certain parameters as far as distances between driveways. And I believe with a road, there's like three factors that really play into it, and that's dropping it down into the 35 mile an hour range or below. Then you have to have a lot more factors that determine slowing that traffic down.
I didn't know if there was a factor between 55 and 45. You're gonna go with 45.
Yeah, there would have to
Road
be
is-
a lot more entrances
The
started.
road is less than a mile long. Do we need to hit 55 in a mile?
There was some that hit 70.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Need a motion.
It kind of blows my mind that that speed limit hasn't been 45. If you look around, all the roads around, look at Givens Road. That's 45. That's got a little bit of a shoulder. That road out there's got absolutely zero shoulder. So it just blows my mind that the speed limit would automatically be 55. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
I'll make a motion. Lower the speed limit to 45 on House Road. All right.
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey to approve and recommend a council speed limit change to 45 miles an hour for House Road, seconded by Mr. Ritchie. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is review and discuss Oshkosh Street plans.
can I say a second? Holmes? So for the first several sections, if we move from Pershing Street down, there aren't too many changes. This is a 37-foot section. It already has established 15-foot radiuses on the intersection corners, which are pretty much standard in all construction right now with side streets coming into collectors. That stays 37 feet all the way through Jennings. At Jennings, you can see our radiuses pretty much stay the same. And there isn't any offset in this section either. This is where it narrows down to 33 feet. This also has 15-foot radiuses. So that's in good shape there. Stays 33 feet, just minor changes. You can see some of the lighter area on this side. You know, it's probably 13-foot radius, something like that, but still acceptable where we're not changing a lot if we make that radius 15 feet. Same down here. Here we have some of these, we start running into some of the 8-foot radiuses. You can see this lighter shaded area on this street. So that's kicking that back. On some of these, we started running into issues with maybe there's a hydrant there or a pole. It becomes more evident down a little bit further. Here we're still at, can't make that out.
Zoom in.
Yeah, where am I at? Oh, down here. There we go.
37.
37. Okay, this is the section by the ballpark. So it opens back up. There's a baseball diamond down here, I believe. So that section, where are we at? Washington. This is where it gets a little tricky. So the existing roadway goes 37 and then it narrows to 31. And you can see the offset of the street with this line here being existing and this darker one, if we were to put it more centered in the road right away. Because if you ever been down Oshkosh Street and you get to Washington, you can see that 8-foot radius and it sticks way out into the roadway as it narrows up. With that northern push of the road, it really narrows up the terrace area for snow placement in the wintertime. Not so much last year, but in previous years it does. So this is an area that I really wanted to discuss with the board here, because with switching this to make it more centered in the road right away and making this a 33-foot road, it does take, I mean, it's taking right away from people's yards. I mean, it's still road right away. It's centering the street. The only other issue we have with that is right now, we're in discussion with New London Utilities, because there is power lines that run on this side and they would have to be moved. So in order for that to happen, there's other factors. I met with them out on Washington on purpose, because they also have lines that run east-west. So then there's other factors as far as holding poles and stuff like that, they would have to move back. So I wanted to come here and get everybody's thoughts first before I pursued a potential cost with them for moving those utilities. It wouldn't really affect a lot of the underground utilities as far as stormwater and sanitary. It might help us out in a few areas to get this more centered in the right of way, but a huge difference it would not make. What it does do, however, a lot of these areas, and you can see it starts out drastic and then the road drifts back. You see this wedge as it starts coming down, it gets narrower, down to just about nothing when you get down further. To Cook, you're pretty much back on. And why that drifted to the west like that, I have no idea. But it would line it up and give us, well, regardless, I still suggest we go with these 15-foot radiuses and get rid of a lot of these 8-foot radiuses that you just don't see anymore. It helps us with the ADA accommodations on these pedestrian crossings as well. Gives us room for the ramps and make them compliant.
No, there's no sidewalk on that east side either, is there?
No, there is not.
No, in fact, I was gonna ask a question about that if you go up the next slide. So it looks like we're cutting back a couple feet into the yards between Washington, Buck, and Beacon.
correct.
And those, that side of the street have very steep grades in their yards.
Correct.
How is that gonna be addressed?
We would look at elevation of the road and possibly bringing it up to help with some of that cross grade and the cut back in. Yeah, that was one of my main concerns, because I know down, I believe it's just past Buck, it gets,
It's, yeah, it's right there. It's a good 5-foot drop down and it is steep.
and there you're talking a lot less, we're about down to 1.5 feet at that location.
So it wouldn't be that
type
much of a cut in?
that much, and then we're talking about, increasing the elevation of the road
Okay,
possibly in those areas to help with that cross slope to tie in. And then the other thing would be, yeah, because here we're pretty much right back on track. It would be this intersection, so Wolf River and Oshkosh. Oh, Brad put this on here just as a conceptual, having that left turn lane. We narrowed this up to give us some room between the sidewalk and the curb. To give us some type of snow storage, because right there, there's hardly anything, and you're bringing all this windrow around here. There's lack of room. But I went out there and kind of observed it for a little bit, not that long, but I hardly saw many vehicles making left-hand turns onto Wolf River. I don't know, as a group, if you experienced a lot of traffic that does turn left out of there, or is the majority of it always go to the right? To where we would actually need to define a left turn. If somebody's turning left, then we keep this curb line more in check and have a little bit bigger radius. Would we even need a defined left turn lane? Would you consider that an issue as holding up traffic or anything like that?
I do not think so.
Depends if there's room. I mean, more people would use Oshkosh if they want to take your struts and your tires off your car.
well, the
I think
issue
you're
with
gonna have
that,
more people using Oshkosh once it's redone.
Yeah, once it's redone, the busiest time is gonna be when school traffic gets
yeah,
over.
that would be when to go out and count. And the only issue with putting it in there is that building is very close
Right, it's right here.
there. And that is part of their driveway area that they use.
It's part of their parking
Yeah.
area.
Well, parking it,
But if
they
you
do have a drive around there.
if you see our right of way line,
Okay,
we kind of considered that in making this a little narrower to allow them a little additional room. Cause I noticed some vehicles kind of, when they're parked there, kind of stick out a little bit.
yep,
That's the only downfall of defining. This is, you have to start making this a full back curb head instead of the driveway style curb. And that would take away, probably 3 spots.
And I think we almost have to do that, because I go that way quite often, and they park right up the intersection a lot of times. So I think if you make it 2 lanes there, you got traffic parked, they're parked real close to that. The inside or outside lanes got to nudge farther out to the next one to see, did it look like you could try to limit that parking on that corner? On that east side?
Limit,
Well, back them stalls off a few. Because we got wider there, like right where Chad is right there. I think typically, I might be wrong, but don't they typically park almost all the way to the corner now?
yeah, the parking lot striped
Almost right to the corner.
right to the corner of the building edge.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah,
can bring up
they're
the
in
aerial
here.
if you want, Robert. I can bring up the aerial.
Oh,
because that would be nice, honestly, to limit that couple stalls there just for visibility.
you don't see much traffic turn to the west off Oshkosh Street. I drive by there every day. You might see a few people sneaking around now with the construction there. But otherwise, most of the traffic is coming into town.
I use that a lot, though.
Huh?
I personally
A lot
use that
of people
intersection.
Going out toward Northport.
Huh?
Been a lot of people going out toward Northport.
Off Oshkosh Street?
I would every day if I ever drove down Oshkosh Street. I like my tires and my shocks.
Because then that'll actually limit that new asphalted area a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Couple stalls, so we can do that.
Did they actually buy that,
They
the
own that
lot
across
across
the
now?
street.
Did they buy that lot there? And they're making that parking, right? That's what they've been using it for.
That's what they've been using it for.
And they did that after they striped that, so it might not be a big deal for them for parking.
Cause even one or two along X there would be sweet. Up around the corner, Chad. Yep, right in there.
Having a better radius.
Better radius and maybe we can back off a stall or something for a little better visibility there.
Oh, here.
Yep,
Well, I think some of these things, we can have a conversation with these and bring that feedback back and see what concerns are. Kind of go from there.
I believe Dave's right, though. If we make this street smooth, I think it's gonna get some more traffic.
Yeah, they're gonna want an entrance into that parking lot off of Oshkosh Street too.
Probably.
Cause then they can use that for their church parking.
Yeah, that's all. I plan on sending out a letter of, to everyone on there shortly, explaining that this is coming up next year. Kind of the plans and, have my availability to discuss any concerns with the project.
I think if we have the room, I think we should make the double lanes. Me personally, just talking out loud.
I agree.
Is there any reason, Robert, you want to keep that at 33, that section, when it's 37, you're going down to 33? Would you want to give yourself some more room?
Well, with doing that, we gave ourselves more room here for snow storage. Because how this was kind of wide and then it comes back in after Spring Street. And then we decided to bring this in more just so we're not running into issues with vehicles sticking out into the roadway. And if it became an issue as far as having parked traffic or something in this section, we could always, for sake of travel, make that section no parking area.
I have a question.
You're gonna have to, cause they park along.
So them parking stalls are actually in the right of way now?
Half and half.
So they didn't buy it knowing or they didn't buy it thinking they actually had parking on that side of the building at all. They're parking in the right of way. So we should be able to do whatever we want.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that right? Cause it's city.
in the
'Cause I
right of
don't
way.
personally care if they have them 9 parking spots there, or whatever that is.
And I think the bigger concern is if you go back
I
and you
wouldn't
look
narrow
at the aerial,
Narrow it at all. Just give them access to their parking lot across the street and eliminate the parking on that west side of that building.
well, and if you go back and look at the aerial on the front
Because
side of
if
the
they
building.
park on Oshkosh Street, heading to the south, that pushes the traffic to the east more.
Where'd you have, aerial? Thank you.
If you go back, they've got parking up in the front of that building too, along Wolf River. And that would feel like that would be
That's gotta be in the right of way also.
Yeah, I would think so, and it's gonna hinder visibility for people coming down that road. Anybody turning out left is not gonna see the traffic coming. So,
And that's a discussion I can have with Wapaka County as well.
mhm.
That's why I was stating it'd be nice to maybe slide them a stall or two, just for visibility on that corner.
You
They're
mean
already in the right
take
of
away
way
these
parking
stalls
lot.
here.
Yep, correct.
You
Push it
make that
back.
radius bigger
Bigger.
coming, turning right, you're gonna have to move the hydrant back,
Yep, the hydrant's right there. I did see that also.
because that's right tight to the corner.
That's doable.
I put a lot of them right to the corner.
No, I'm serious.
So am I. I drive around, I'm like, why? So you have to put that right on the corner.
They're all that
Set it
way.
back 5 feet.
It
would help.
They're all that way.
That's not
Or
that,
my house is.
Well,
that's not that
Robert,
drastic of a change.
Robert, when you're done repaving all the
No,
roads in London, you'll have
It's
them
hard
fire
making
hydrants
a
where you
right
want
hand turn with that so tight.
That's why if we do give you that, if we do the 2 lanes, it might be better for your trucks also.
Right.
And I do think regardless of the street it's done, you are gonna have to make that other side of the street no parking.
I think you're right. Once it's improved, you know, a lot of people who go down, you know, Wyman right
There's gonna
now,
be,
they'll go.
I
down
watch
this-
them. There's gonna be a ton of them. I mean, I watch them shoot down Jefferson now and then actually go back to get to Wyman.
Mhm.
Or to Warner Allen, sorry.
Mhm.
They won't be doing that when Oshkosh is redone. They're gonna turn down Oshkosh because that's one of our streets that we want everybody on. There's gonna be a lot more traffic on Oshkosh, but people avoid it like the plague right now.
Definitely agree.
You're gonna have a public invited down to a meeting anyway when you start doing stuff, right?
Well,
I definitely wouldn't take any more stalls from them as you need to. I mean, I wouldn't just remove that whole line on the west side just because you can.
No, but take the ones that we need to make a turn lane.
And the radius.
and what is everybody's thought down by, on that section of street that is 31 to bring that to 33 feet?
Is that here?
Yeah, it starts at Washington.
Yeah, that's that block.
At the old ski, at pool.
Yep.
Yeah,
How's that gonna affect the other side with their aprons?
The west side,
Bringing, when you make that elevation?
they'll, when we're out there looking at it, there's ways, even with that slight elevation, we can make it work, so it works on both sides.
Yeah, I'd like to see the road centered as long as you can make it work and we're not screwing up somebody's driveway in the process, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't go greater than, you know, the standard 10% unless you're already dealing with a 15%. I wouldn't wanna go, you know, any greater than that if that's what they're dealing with right now.
We can do it and get them down to the 10%, that'd be even better. But you're not
Exactly.
rubbing stuff.
I'm sure they can profile that so that it's still good for the west side, but helps east side a little bit.
Yeah, and even if you're a little bit steeper on your road cross slope on one side versus the other, to make up that curb height difference, so you have that uniform, well, it won't be uniform, but it can be accessible where you're not putting anybody out, because that's the last thing I wanna do.
Yeah, it's just that one house on the corner that's got a really steep driveway that would be of concern.
Mhm. And that one we're already working with because, you know, by the time we get down there, we're only talking about, I think it was 18, 20 inches at that point of their driveway that
Oh,
we would be coming back into theirs. So then it's trying to make up that elevation. And combine that with, maybe a different pitch cross slope on the road to help that out as well. It's already starting to go downhill, so if you flatten it out from a 2% to a 1, you still have drainage going both ways, so.
I mean, the biggest one is that you're coming more east is the pool, right? This property?
Yeah, that one there would be, it would have a lot more terrace area right there.
I can see how it doesn't line up.
Yeah, cause it
it's
goes
gonna be
from,
that, it's gonna be that 700 block up and then the next
next
600 block, that's the issue. So it's 615 there on the corner that has a really steep pitch into the road.
You can kind of see the road meander a little there. Like you said.
Yeah.
I hope that's not because of the quicksand. Remember, did I give you that
yes,
article?
you did.
There is a spot of it somewhere in there, it made national news. Back in the day.
Tell me where it is, please.
Leona Mech's dad got an international award for figuring out a way to get around the quicksand. And to deal with it. That was unheard of in road building back then.
All right, well, my next step will be, to get an estimate from NLU with the utility adjustments. And also back to the designer as far as making these adjustments. And then hopefully we can supply some, cross slope references in those, more sloped areas.
Any other comments or questions for Robert? If none, thanks, Robert. I think everybody's waiting for the street to get done. Oh, we're closer. Move on next, the director's report.
Okay, no service anniversaries to report, and the update on the downtown project. They will finish up all road pavements, by tomorrow. They plan on having sidewalk removal start on Wednesday. At that point, they'll get it prepped and ready for the sidewalks to be poured. I did not get a firm date on when they will start that. They were supposed to be in right behind MCC. We'll see if that happens. The electricians will be working on all the light pole bases, for the traffic control, signals down at Pearl and North Water. So, they installed the control cabinets for the lighting and traffic signals today. So their main goal is to get those bases in. They heard that the light poles for that intersection are in powder coat right now, and should be done soon. What soon means, a week or two, I don't know. But I'm hoping within 2 weeks, so they can get those installed right away. The other thing that we're waiting on is all the finish up work in the first section. We discussed the crack filler that needs to be fixed and refilled in areas. They thought that they were gonna do some of that in the Shawano Street intersection while this bypass is, or detour is going on, which was severely shot down on the spot. They need to finish the sod work behind the curb or behind the sidewalk in areas. There's sections of asphalt that, from what I heard, last conversation, they were gonna wait until they can tie in the rest of it, which would be a while out. Wasn't too excited about that, but not much I can do about it. So that's still on hold because there's asphalt work that needs to be done in the parking lot across from Wisconsin Street. There's asphalt work to be done at the end of the alleyway by that park. They really can't do any of the asphalt work on State Street right now until we get something done with the building. But those are kind of main areas that are still lingering in the first phase, as well as I brought up the issue of the water that's standing at the Wisconsin Street intersection. So I'm hoping to hear something back on that soon on their fix there. So other than that, that's pretty much the update for the downtown project. I don't foresee them hitting that October 15th date. Especially when they said right in the meeting that we think it's doable. And then after we kind of picked apart his schedule, it's like, we really have a lot of work to do. So that kind of says it all.
This question was brought up to me, is there any thought of opening up that Pearl intersection as soon as possible? Even though like the rest might not be done?
I don't see that happening if the concrete work is not completed in the terrace areas.
I don't know if they had any thought of like making that priority just to help alleviate some of the traffic, if, I don't know.
I think they wanna do a lot softer close once they get the removals done. They definitely won't until that removal process is done because they're so busy bringing slabs across loaded trucks that wouldn't be possible, but it's definitely been brought up. So.
Okay, thanks.
That's pretty much all I have for
You're
my
done talking, Rob?
report, yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Garski? If not, thanks, Robert, for all your, I guess, trying to do the best we can with what we got. Future agenda items. Still got that citywide pickup and large item thing on the list. I'll just keep tabling that till life settles down a little.
Well, we're working on the survey.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep,
we're
working on
that.
that survey, yep. So it's not totally out of still in the mind. Next Board of Public Works meeting is November 4th at 5 o'clock. Note the time change. We are gonna do a double back-to-back with,
If possible.
if possible, with Park and Rec because of the election. Anybody have an issue with that, I guess? I think it should work. Nobody has anything else? I'm looking for motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ritchie, seconded by Mr. Barrington to adjourn. Any further discussion? None, all in favor signify by saying aye.